city, I've been browsing. Treading water that they drowning. My head on a swivel, yeah. It's only really my surroundings.
Hello and welcome to episode 89 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter, Dynasty_DadFF. Guys, I mean, I'm slurring some of my speech in here because I'm so excited, guys. We're going to talk about the 2023 first round frenzy. I mean, Twitter's been crazy with it. All your rookie drafts have been crazy. Everybody's coveting those 2023 firsts, and we're going to talk about how to get them today. And before we talk about that, two quick things I want to go over. Again, guys, last year, the year before that, we teamed up with DraftKits.co, the best draft boards out there. You guys use code SMASH, you get 10% off. They make the custom kits that are behind us. They make everything from your basic, like, standard board with all the stickers to the most elaborate, vinyl reusables. They are the best out there. That's, again, DraftKits.co. I got it right this year, John. I didn't say .com. And, you guys get 10% off. It helps the podcast, and it's just an awesome experience. Speaking of awesome experiences, I'm wearing my SFB 9 shirt. I know that's old school, but now we're in SFB 12. Congratulations, Mung. Congratulations, John. All three of us from the Smash Accept group in there again this year, ready to just dominate the bowl. So,
yeah, baby.
Congratulations to both of you guys. John, today we're talking about 23 first. I mean, is there anything more exciting than that right now?
No, this is absolutely all the talk right now. This is what our Patreon group, this is what they want to hear. This is all we want to talk about. And it's the startup season and the rookie drafts. Now's the time to kind of look at it. The hype is getting a little bit crazy, so I've been breaking it down. I can't wait to talk about this class, though.
Mung, you and I, we talk a lot of trades, and we see seriously like thousands a month that we're going over. There's so many 2023 firsts. I mean, what are some of the trends and just how the excitement is more than I've ever experienced. 2020 was kind of there, but this 2023 class is just so anticipated.
Yeah, and I think there are ways to sort of take advantage of that, right? Because we know that the hype on that 2023 class is, and I want to say an all-time high, but it's only going to grow over the next few months, and for good reason. Because
that's crazy,
there are a lot of talented prospects.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's value to be gained because everyone else is valuing those first so highly. I mean, I'm seeing trade offers on Twitter like Michael Pittman for a late 2023 first. And I think there are probably 5 or 6 guys that I'm really, really excited about, and probably another 10 or so that I'm sort of excited about. But I mean, Michael Pittman has the potential to be a top 10 wide receiver in 2022. I mean, you're potentially trading away players if you're contending who could really lead you to a title run, and now could potentially be the time to sell some of those firsts for players who you do think could have elite potential this coming season.
And John and I have been screaming it from the rooftops, and we're going to say it multiple times today. You got to anticipate. You got to get that crystal ball out and predict where these firsts are going to be. Because if you get them in that top 6, that's a home run, baby. We talk about some of those 11, 12s. You might be able to cash out. So I'm excited. We got a guest on the show today. First he jumped into Smash 3. He joined in our Patreon. Honestly, that the gif of the Spider-Man pointing back and forth, I don't know anybody who aligns. Like, it's literally, we finish each other's sentences. Welcome to the show. And the reason we're welcoming you on is you're part of the Elite 8 of having those 23 firsts. You got 8 of them in there. John's having a little envy because he's only got 6.
Yes,
welcome to the show, Adam Armour.
Oh, thanks, gents. Super stoked to be here. Super stoked to be on the Patreon. And, of course, 2 Smash, 3, 4. Holla to those fellas.
Yeah, and you're one of the lucky guys. You got in as like, you were in 4, and then we had an orphaned in 3, and you're one of the only guys to get in 3. Everybody's asking me.
Nice.
The thing is, they're like, yo, Dad, start Smash 6. I want to get in another one. And I'm like, we want to let new people in. We want to let new groups in. Adam, what is your vibe of the 2023 first right now? I mean, we're all trying to catch them. We're trying to get them all. Yeah. But talk to me a little bit about it.
Yeah, no, I totally. I mean, obviously, the post the rookie draft. I mean, the buzz has been really joining on the transitioning to the next class, and I kind of starting to see kind of to Monk's point, I kind of think this is, I don't want to say a lull in the market, but people are really starting to think about points a little bit more because of the rookie fever and trying to look at this next year. But the fever of 23 and really looking at that class. I mean, I acquired 4 of my 8 in that league last year, and it's been tough to get those other 4 this year. But it's definitely a real hot, not only commodity, but just everybody's talking about it, like you guys said.
Yeah, and John, we talked on the phone, and like for me, I started in 2015, and for me it was like, OBJ, Evans, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
They're like 2014. Man, it's hard to believe Sammy Watkins has fallen that far out of grace. But I mean, everybody was vibing about that, right? That was the new buzz. Then 2017, it was Fournette and Kamara and McCaffrey, and a loaded running back class. And then 2020, we have a lot of new people to Dynasty. Dynasty has blown up since 2019. It has really moved in. I mean, at that point, there was probably like 8 to 10 hardcore podcasts. Now there's hundreds, which you guys should be listening to Smash Accept, but there's other great ones out there. And that 2020 class brought us, Jonathan Taylor, Burrow, Herbert, Dobbins, Swift, Gibson, Akers, Tua. It just keeps going on and on and on. And now those people that started in 2020 who missed out on all those, now they got a class where they're like, dude, we got to get in on this. We got to get it. John, how close is this 2023 class to 2020? I mean, there's some people that argue it's even better on the elite end.
I do think actually on the elite end that there are going to be some arguments. We're going to start breaking it down here some tonight. I've been putting in the research. I think that you always risk the hyperbole and overhyping everything, but I absolutely think that it's right there with 2020. I personally got kind of going in Dynasty back in that 2017 class, like you were talking about with McCaffrey, Fournette, Mixon, Cook, all those guys. And you start rattling off some of these prospects that are coming out. It is, first of all, it's just head and shoulders better than 22 class in every aspect. And you just start thinking of some of these blue chip elite prospects coming out. You can convince yourself pretty quick that it's about as good as we saw from 2020. So to the point, it's a perfect class to really build a dynasty after.
Yeah, and I really noticed when I built my 2020 where I did a punt in 2019 and I accumulated 7 firsts. That team since then has gone 13-1 every single year and gone to the ship, and it's like I didn't have the luck to win it, but I set myself up, and that's what we're trying to anticipate with these 2023 firsts. That's kind of what we're saying. First, how we get them, that's the thing. Everybody's talking about, Dad, how do I get another 23 first? I know you got 8 in this league and 5 in this league and 6 in this one, and I'm like, all right, let's start talking about it, right? Because you've got to get creative, and it's going to be an interesting process because of where you're at this point. So in startups, we had a guy send in as at JBB_FF. He has the 103. Guy offered him 208, a 23 first, and a 23 second. Adam, I'm going to let you start out with this one because I know you've done, you did the startup with me in Smash 4. You've been involved in some of those. There is a huge advantage of being in those top 4 picks. I feel like that is an easy way to get those 23 firsts. But let's talk a little bit about his offer, and then let's talk about that first round, because I feel like that's where you make or break your draft, where it's you accumulate those firsts, you move back, you try to get yourself into those situations.
Absolutely. I think the idea is sound because everybody wants the top 3 quarterbacks, right? So demand is going to be at its peak there, and you can take advantage of that when you're looking to punt for a 1 year and accumulate 23 assets. I think, John, that's kind of what you kind of did from my understanding, right? And I think, from that trade, I was looking at it, and I really love the idea, but I think if you push yourself too far late in the second from the 103, one, you really got to nail on those the first and then the picks you get, but you don't have an opportunity for the tier 3 quarterback, like looking at this first end of the first, we're talking about, Monk's boy, Trey Lance, right? Those types of on that turn, I think the play is if you're going from 103, try to get a late first so that you still get a premium asset.
Yes.
And then
that's the move.
Yeah.
That's the move, because if you want to move to 208, you can move from there to 208 and get more first.
Yes.
And gives you the optionality. But
Now
if you get straight to 208, I mean, I think that's just too spendy from what you're giving up from a tier perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there you're looking at 208. You got your big 6 are gone. Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, even Trevor Lawrence and Watson are gone. So you're going to be at that point. You're going to be choosing between probably Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in that 208 range, where you're talking about now Matthew Stafford in the first for Justin Herbert, no way. I don't want anything to do with that, and it sounds good. But if you can move back from 103 to 110, and in that 110 area, there's Kyler Murray, there's Justin Jefferson, depending who falls. Now somebody wants to go in there, then you move again into that area, and you could potentially come away with 223 firsts and put yourself in a situation where if we're talking Stafford and 223 firsts, it's a different ballgame. John, I know you just did yours. Talk to me, and we talked about it a little bit last week, but what is the current value? If I say to you, hey man, I got a 23 first, I want one of your picks, what's it going to be?
Yeah, and this is such an important topic, especially if you're talking about it like a startup and you're pre-draft, you don't know any idea about where these teams are going to finish, what their strategies are. I really feel like you should start thinking about buying a 23 first and at about the 107, 108 mark of 22 rookie drafts, and we're going to talk about that. Another great spot to pick up these 23 firsts is in the current 22 rookie draft that you're having right now. So that's kind of where I'm breaking it down right now, and I have really looked at the players that are going to be available in that range and absolutely think it'll be worth it. But I'm starting to almost talk myself into even like a 106, just depending on who might be there. It's borderline right now. I'm right there. So
exactly. I mean, I put a poll out there today, and I'm like, hey, at what point in your rookie draft would you just trade your pick for a random 23 first?
Right.
We don't know if it's early. When I say random, to me, that's like we're feeling it's probably going to be like 108. It's not like one of the early ones. It's not one of the late ones.
Yeah.
And, right now, Twitter had 13% are willing to pay the 105 and 106. Right now, that is Treylon Burks and Jameson Williams. Mung, are you willing to give up a first? Are you willing to give up on either of these players for a 23 first at this point? I know you're big on, usually Wilson goes 4, and then we have, Williams and Burke going 5 and 6. Are you willing to give up either of these players for what we would call a random 23 first?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered that I'm not particularly high on Burks, so yes, I would take a 2023 first over him. Jameson Williams, I think I would hold on to him over a random 2023 first, but yeah, I mean, I think that 5, 6, 7 range, depending on how high you are on a Sky Moore or a Pitts and Superflex, those are guys who are really on the fence, where I would probably err on the side of the 2023 first. But yeah, somewhere in that range sounds about right to me.
Yeah, and that's what Twitter said. I mean, 107 to 108, they said 51% are willing to give that up. And that's the Olave, Pickett, Sky Moore area. And I feel like, thinking in that area, I would definitely give up one of those players for that random 23 first, giving myself that opportunity. 109, 110, that's 32%. And they're random trolls showing up for 111 and 112 at 4%.
Wow.
We're going in that area. But, for me, Adam, I'm almost thinking I'm looking at this and I'm seeing 51% at the 107, 108, meaning if I want to get this done, it's probably 105 or 106 to get that random in that area. Talk to me about how comfortable you are in that area and where that cutoff is for you, because I think it's different for everybody. We all got our guy. Every draft is different. I did one this weekend where Jameson Williams went 110, and like, I just kept trying to get in there, and I didn't want to give up my 23 first, but I kept trying to get into those spots. So talk to me a little bit about your drafts and how that's looking.
Yeah, it's looking the same. I kind of, for those who don't know me, I'm a financial advisor. So I used to think of it like a bid and ask spread, right? So if, right now the bids are certainly shooting for the 7 to 9, but the asks are in that mid range of the first. So, really just league dependent. So some of them, I'm easily moving, like I think I moved 109 easily. Is it not even a discussion, offered it, accepted it. But I think the best thing on the sell side, for the trying to get to buy the 23 first is on the clock. I mean, that's when you're really going to have the best value, especially if a player drops down in that range someone wants. So I think timing's important too, to try to reduce the spread.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I haven't really seen, at least in my leagues, Smash or the other leagues, like I haven't really seen a lot of, 5 and 6 picks. I think that's where people want it, but I think where it actually settles is closer to that 6, 7, like you guys are saying, and I'm like that, I don't think I want to go higher either, because there's still some really good upsides in that middle round. So, certainly, if it's a guaranteed, top 4 23, then obviously it's a smash. But I think for a random 23, I think it's that 6, 7 range.
I like it. And then Ty House, one of our listeners, says at Resist the Tilt. Cool name, He put in 2 separate drafts, and I'm envious of this dude. He said he traded the 110 to a team that finished bottom 5 last year. I'm like, what did you want to trade up for 110? And, James Cook area. James Cook better hit, because if you miss out on a top 5 pick next year, whoever that guy is, Ty House, you fleece that guy. That's an absolute smash accept. The next one, he said he gave up the 201 to a contender. Again, what the contender's going in there to get Jahan Dotson. What happens if that guy, and Mung and I talked about it last week, you think you have a contender, you lose 4 guys to injuries, you lose guys to COVID, you lose things, and now all of a sudden that's the 107. You just got burnt. It's like, this isn't the class where you're trading up for the 201, getting a guy that you think is going to be a running back that's really going to perform for you right off the bat, or a guy. So, it is out there. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, none of my drafts, people are giving up 23 firsts. I've been a part of 15. I only had firsts in about half of them because I've been out on this class, but I've moved them all for 23 firsts. I had to get creative. I had to find the right guy. And I think the biggest thing moving these 23 firsts is creativity, masking it up, trying to, polish it up a little bit. And sometimes a slight overpay. I recently, in a 1 quarterback league, which I'm only in one of those, but the guy hasn't been in for a while. He's one of those guys. People come out of the woodworks this time of year, right? We have those redraft mentality type players who play Dynasty, but they're not super active. They're not listening to Smash Accept. They're not, taking in all the content. Gave him Hopkins 311 and 411 for a 23 first. To me, that is one where it's like, hey, John, got to get out the cowbell.
Got to have more cowbell.
And for him, he was excited about it. He was excited to get Hopkins, but I think now is the time when you're in your rookie draft. You can't just say, okay, any 23 first for this. You got to start getting creative. You got to touch base. Your league mates. You got to reach out there. Talk to me a little bit about some of your rookie drafts, guys, and some of the picks that you've seen traded, and some of those moves that you've seen people actually accumulating those picks.
Yeah, I'll jump in. And kind of coming back to some of these strategies that I really like. One that you just mentioned that I think is really key is get to know your teammates. Find out the players they like. Kind of what are their strategies? What are they going for? And then shoot them offers that actually do fit with their strategy. And you're tossing in a player that they really like, or it feeds right into a position that they need. And that's, to your point, it kind of does help mask it a little bit. And that's a good way to do it. Whether that's in the startup, like somebody just claims, oh, you just sniped me, you just got my player. Well, right there, boom. That's an opportunity to now go ahead and flip that particular player just took on the clock and pick up either a pick and a 23 first, or maybe it's another player that you like in a 23 first. Obviously, you always talk about the insulated trades. Now's a great time to be looking at even some young players, but packaging them up and getting a 23 first and another player that's perhaps even younger, right? Those are some great moves to make, but it's, certainly the startup. It's certainly then in the rookie drafts, number 2. But then it's just keeping in touch with your teammates, staying very active. Put a trade out a day. Keep going after it until you can kind of find the right mix of picks and players to get what you need out of your league mates. That's kind of my view.
Communication is key. We all bring about, Adam said he's a financial advisor, and John, I know you're in business, and that's how you kind of do deals. And me, I got a teacher and a sales background, so I'm kind of working those things. Use your advantages of how you possibly, work out some of those kind of deals, because it does come into play, and communication is key. If you're open and you're kind of, you don't want to, there's a lot of times people just, they talk down to you, or they don't, you got to have a good transaction. You got to have a good business transaction where you're working back and forth. For me, I knew a guy really was a Packers fan, and we got to 108. Yeah, he wants Christian Watson. Of course he does. You know what I mean? So I'm going to talk to him once I get on the clock, and I'm like, hey, your boy's still there. And you start to make that conversation. Adam, Mung, is there any kind of trades you have seen in your rookie drafts where it's like guys are getting creative, whether that's, taking a 22 first and adding like a Adam Thielen, a depreciating asset for those 23 first, trying to move into that next section?
Honestly, over my rookie drafts the last month or so, I haven't seen too many 2023 firsts move, to be honest. I think in a lot of our leagues where we're playing with people who are smart and, staying active throughout the off season, people are catching on to just how valuable the picks in the 2023 class are. One trade, I believe it was like 2 2024 firsts and 2 2024 seconds for like I think it was 1-6 to grab Pickett. But I don't know that I would be doing that either. In general, I just don't think the 2022 class has a lot of the players with potential for elite production like we really want to see.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think in general, this year, more than others, I've seen fewer trades done in the first round because people are already kind of wise to the quality of that 2023 class.
Yeah, and Adam, that's made it harder. I mean, you and I have noticed, we both have 8 in the league, and one of our guys, at Fantasy Nerd Boy, got his 9th, and I'm out there trying to get another one. And I know John and I have had more phone conversations in the last month since I've talked him into doing one of these productive struggles than we have maybe more than I have with my girlfriend.
Learning a lot.
It might not be good. But what I'm saying is, Adam, how do you get creative? How do you try to, in the rookie draft, how do you get another first?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mung nailed it on the head. I think really, I think the demand for 23 firsts have shot up since the rookie draft, right? So really the time to get your cheap 23s is past. So that's the first thing. It's just the realization, you're not going to get a cheap one just throwing someone some BS offer. So back John's point about knowing not only your teammates but also what's their construction is huge, because if you throw them something just to be like, no, I'm not going to get rid of, XYZ, even if it's a multiplayer package that, that they really like, just because they really love the 23 thirst, or even they heard it was a really good class. So I think you got to get creative to your point, Dad. And I think, trying to, within the draft, trying to, maybe give your late first and then a second. I saw one in the Patreon. Guys, Patreon's awesome. Check it out. Just wanted to throw it out there because one dude, I forgot who wrote it, is the 110 and the 201 for 23. I'm smashing that.
Beautiful.
Stuff like that, because people get excited for a couple players in late, like Doxson or any of those types of guys where we're kind of all right, but it all goes back to the risk adjusted returns, right? So if you're going to punch in a late first and a second in a okay class, right, for the upside of what potentially could be a home run top 5 in their position pick, it's a smash. So those are the opportunities I'm trying to find, is those people that are rookie fever, if your rookie drafts are still happening. And then, I'm also, the other thing I would say is just once the rookies drafts, we'll probably get into some other stuff here in a bit post rookie draft, but during the rookie draft is trying to, try to trade down or potentially trade multiple picks, because you're going to get better return and guaranteed increase in return if you get that 23 first.
Yeah, and I think rookie draft, and you do it in the startup, your rookie draft is always a good time to try to accumulate something because everybody's there. You have everyone's attention. It's not like a Smash League. That's right. Smash League, you put a comment out there and 12 people read it within the first 20 minutes. In a home league, you might put that comment out there looking for 23 firsts, and you might have 2 dudes look at it in the first week. Some of those kind of things. But, John, I mean, honestly, for me, how special is this class? We talk about it, right? We talk about it all the time. For me, if Breece Hall's in this class, he goes 104, 105, maybe even 106. Drake London, maybe 108, 109.
Yeah,
and those might be the only 2 guys that make it in the first round of this. Maybe Kenneth Walker in that 111, 112. And that's crazy. We're talking about a combined mock draft. The guys in this class are absolutely special. And the crazy thing is, this year, we only had 1 quarterback. Next year, there is 2 right off in the top. But for me and for you, I mean, that first guy is Bijan Robinson. I mean, Bijan Robinson is that running back that just the athletic profile, everything about this guy. He's an absolute home run waiting to happen every single time. He's fantastic. He really is. He's a 3-down type of back. Talk to me a little bit about him. And I mean, I'm hearing guys in the community say right off the bat, he's the RB1, RB2, in that kind of conversation.
Yeah, I love Bijan Robinson. I think that he's going to be a clear 101. And I'm going to say this right now here. I actually believe that as soon as he's drafted, he will be a first-round startup pick this time next year. Mark my words.
And this is why the 101 is so important, right? We talk about this every single time we talk about doing your rebuilds right, doing your retools right, making sure you do that productive struggle. The key to it all is knowing the format and getting the 101 because the 101 gives you so much leverage here.
Yeah, so let me just break this down for just a minute. And I would have to gush about this guy. I happen to be a Texas Longhorn myself. I've watched every snap the guy's played, and he really is special. He really just has the perfect profile that the entire fantasy universe has aligned on, from the analytics the production, the film, the size, the speed. So he's 6 foot 215, perfect size for a 3-down running back. He was, oh, by the way, the #1 high school recruit coming out, 5-star, top 15 nationally, top running back. Freak athlete with the speed. He's going to absolutely tear up the combine. Just wait for that one. And he's just a guy, when you watch him, he's a threat to score from anywhere in the field. He really actually reminds me a bit of Saquon and how Saquon runs. And he may have the best incoming running back profile since Saquon. And I know that sounds crazy, but believe it now. And again, he has the bell cow profile. He can play on all 3 downs. He's that perfect modern running back fit where he can line up out wide. He can run routes. He has great hands. And again, the production is there too. Like right out of the gate, his freshman year, he averaged over 8 yards per attempt. And then this past year, he racked up over 1,400 total yards, 15 touchdowns on an average Texas team, by the way, average offensive line. And so he truly is special. Everything about it, the profile, frankly, I think if he had already left, if he could have come out, he might have actually gone in the first round. And I know it's crazy these days for that to happen, but I expect him to have first round draft pedigree after the combine. And so all of that combined, 101.
Just going to get in there on that because I was talking with Thor and I was talking with Travis May and Matt Hicks, and they were saying the same thing. Like, not just first round draft capital. This could be a top 15, top 10 type pick at running back. We haven't seen that since Saquon Barkley.
Just needs to
and this
stay
is like,
That's it.
I could feel the excitement because you know you got the 101. Adam knows he has the 101 in his leagues. I know I have the 101 in mine, and it's just like the excitement of that. And this year, there's a couple other guys in that same tier. I mean, I think you got to look at C.J. Stroud. You got to look at Bryce Young. There's two quarterbacks here who have an elite profile. Where this year we're like, if you were waiting for a quarterback this year and you were just hoping Malik Willis was going to be something, small hands, Kenny Pickett, and then we get these two guys. And I think you got Stroud at Ohio State, Bryce Young at Alabama. They got that pedigree. Talk to me a little bit here.
Yeah.
And Adam and Monk, feel free to chime in. John's he's going to glow on these guys here.
Yeah, I'm just like, I got the fever already. And so let me talk about these guys. And just to kind of back up for a second, I have, as of now, 5 truly elite players. We already talked about Bijan. You just mentioned Stroud and Bryce Young. And I'm going to add 2 more, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Those 5 for sure I have as true elite blue chip 23 first round picks. And I think you can make an argument that you could take all of them ahead of Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into that, but
we start debating at 6 there with Keyshawn Butte, and I think that's where
that's right. That's right. And so coming back to Stroud and Bryce Young, first of all, there's going to be huge demand for both these guys because they're already proven assets. We're going to be debating the 2 of them, which one's QB1, but the answer is both, I think. And there's nothing more valuable than young QBs in Superflex, right? These are most likely going to be top 3 picks in the NFL draft. And I think they'll be they already are consensus top 3 rookie picks for next year. And so the fact that there really weren't any capable first round 22 rookie picks this year just makes it even that much more. The demand, I mean, you're talking about stocks over here. The demand for these stocks are going to be sky high. And so that alone is just going to drive the value of these up and up and up. But if you just kind of break these guys down, Stroud is truly incredible. He's 6'3", 218, and he's absolutely crazy accurate. The stats, 44 touchdowns and 6 interceptions as a sophomore. I mean, that's ridiculous. 4,400 yards passing. He's really going to be the incoming favorite to win the Heisman at Ohio State. I think the only knock I've heard is that he just doesn't run the ball a lot, but he just hasn't needed to. He's deadly accurate. He can throw anywhere in the field, make all the throws, great arm strength. And he's very different, though, than Bryce Young, because Bryce Young is a smaller guy. He's 5'11". But he's much more mobile. And so just a different style quarterback, just makes plays, scrambles in the pockets, great deep ball, just won the Heisman. So, these guys are both proven. I think that it could come down to, do you like those quarterbacks that have the rushing capability? Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, they've proven that these guys like Bryce Young can win in the NFL. So he will get knocked a little bit on the size, but he's got the production. He's got the pedigree. He's kind of got everything. And so these are both, in my mind, going to be the next 2 guys off the board. I think I'm pretty confident saying those will likely be consensus top 3 picks starting in the 2023 rookie class.
And, I feel like Gibbs is going to push himself into Gibbs and Njigba in that 4-5 spot. Smith and Jigba, to me, is pretty – he's going to be in a tier with JJ and with Jamar Chase when he comes out. I mean, this guy is that good. You look at a guy from Ohio State who basically outperformed 2 first-round wide receivers. I mean, he clearly did. In the game that he had where both of them sat in the bowl game, absurd, over 300 yards. I mean, this is a guy that is going to ball out. So
he set records. Yeah, he also, by the way, set an Ohio State receiving record his sophomore year. You think of all the guys that have come out of Ohio State. When you outperform 2 guys that just went in the top 15 of the NFL draft, it's going to be nuts next year. I think he's a top 10 to 15 pick in the NFL draft.
And this is why we're talking about this is so important, and it's so important to get those guys. And we're going to come back to the rest of that list, but I want to keep moving here for sure. What we really want to just say is there are 5 dudes who are going to go in the top 3 to 4 startup rounds. And that's why we're saying it's so much value. We're talking about guys 6 through 12. John, I think are there's guys there that are going to be going rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's going to be littered with some serious value. And the thing I want to talk about next, and you guys know, coined this term. This is something that's like near and dear to me, and I love it when I talk in the Patreon. People are like, "Yo, Dad, we pulled off one of those insulated trades." Right now, that 2023 class, if you can get these kind of insulated trades, is where it's at. And I want you to hear me out here a little bit. For running backs, I am making these kind of moves. Only guys I'm not doing it for are the top 6. JT, Najee, Swift, Javonte, CMC, and Breeze. Everybody else.
Okay.
And this is something that I was saying to one of my buddies, and he thought I was nuts. If I have David Montgomery, I might trade him for a 23 first. If I have Dobbins, if I have Kamara, if I have Eckler, Mixon, Saquon, these kind of guys, and try to get something on top of that, because that 23 first, once we get in the season, it can't get hurt. It can't get injured. If Saquon goes down week 2, now I have a 23 first, I can buy Dalvin Cook in week 12, and do those kind of moves. Running backs is such a volatile spot where I've been making moves where I'm like, I'm giving up Eckler, but I'm getting a guy like Jacobs plus a 23 first. So Jacobs is that rental, and then I get a 23 first where it'll be worth potentially more than Austin Eckler next year. And we've never had this. And that's why I'm kind of coming up with this a little bit outside of those top 6 running backs. Same thing with wide receivers. We talked about it last week. Outside of the top 6 again. And if you look at Dynasty Trade Calculator, they do a great job of trying to see where these first, anticipate. Outside of Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Kupp, T. Higgins, and A.J. Brown, I'm considering moving these guys. I'm considering moving. We talked about Devontae Adams for that 23 first and Brandon Cooks. Get yourself a Brandon Cooks, an Adam Thielen, a Robert Woods, a guy that's going to give you production there. And then you get, if you're win now, and then get a little bit there at the end. Because you can buy, we're talking about this 23 capital is so much you're going to be able to buy things. You're going to be able to get it done. You're going to be able to give up, Deontay Johnson, who's great. I love Deontay Johnson. But maybe you get, a Jerry Jeudy plus. You got Diggs, Metcalf, Waddle, Moore, London. Those guys are young guys, but I'm potentially willing to give up them plus a 23 first to go out there. And I know I'm on a rant. I'm going to get my last one. Tight end is just Kyle Pitts. Anything outside of Kyle Pitts, I will take the 23 first over, and I just did. And I know I got razzed about this, but I want to talk about it. So right now we're talking about we want those guys in that situation. Today I dealt in tight end premium in one of my absolute smash contenders. I have Ertz and Kittle on my bench behind Kelsey, and thanks to Adam and John, you guys actually helped me work through this trade. But what I ended up doing was I got a guy, and there's no tight end who I'm buying more. He was a tight end 3 overall last year. He's going tight end 8 in redraft, tight end 9 in dynasty, and he's just 25 years old with a top 10 quarterback. It's Dalton Schultz. I got Dalton Schultz and a 23 first, which will be, okay, it was the 103 last year. It still projects in that 103 to 105 range. I gave up Ertz, Kittle, and a 24 third for Schultz, Higbee, and that 23 first. That 23 first will be the most expensive piece in that package when it's all said and done. So I know I went off there on a rant. Talk to me a little bit. What do you guys think about these kind of insulated trades and just adding that value? Because outside the top 6 at wide receiver and running back, there are guys that are going to be worth more coming out of that. We'll start with you, Adam. I know I sound a little bit crazy on some of this, but if you're not an absolute contender, I'm not saying if you're win now and you're gonna win it all. I'm not saying give up Derrick Henry. I'm not saying give up Davante Adams right now. But if you're in that middle of the pack, this is the time where you can really start to, gain some value.
Absolutely. Or one thing that you're also doing, some of your teams that we were talking about, is just adding insulation to your team for that growth of the 23 that you could flip midseason, just to make yourself from the top 2, top 3 into the champ. That's the other thing too. But yeah, absolutely. Like that trade's a smash in my opinion. But like a couple other ideas in the same limelight, like an idea I had, I was actually going to think about doing this in Smash 3, but I'll probably not be able to get it done now. But I think it's a cool idea. Is
hey, welcome to my world, right? We talk about
exactly.
all these, and they're like, "Yo, Dad, we can't do that deal. You just told us it was a
said
bad
on the
idea
pod, bro."
on the podcast."
Yeah.
Yo, and then I get the ones where it's like, "Yo, Dad, you said you would accept this kind of deal," and I'm like, "It doesn't mean I'm going to 100% of the time." But go ahead, man. I love that.
Yeah, but like in that league I'm contending. I'm definitely not contending with your Smash 3 or Smeagol and a few other guys, but I'm kind of that mid pack, and but I got some good youth pieces, and I'm going for it. I'm thinking like a Mixon Kirk or like a Dalvin Cook, Dotson for Fournette in a 23 first. Get somebody that you want to contend with, like Fournette, which I think we all see him as easy top 8, right? Someone that probably has 2 to 3 years left in being in this good situation, even if Brady leaves, but he's definitely going to have that upside. So going from Mixon and Cook, you're probably going down, a spot, but you're still getting an RB1. You give up, maybe a slight upside wide receiver, but in my opinion, ceiling's capped for a 23 first that you can still. So basically, you're just weakening your bench a little bit. So I wouldn't do this for like a team that doesn't have depth. But if you have depth in that piece and the other players looking for an upgrading running back, which in that particular league he is, that's a smash for me, because you can insulate yourself, you can flip it later, or if you decide that, hey, you know what, I'm going to dump for next year, you can sell, mid-season and get, that's another time period where 23 is going to be worth, less. I want to say less than now, but points are what people are thinking about mid-season, right?
Yep.
So
Right
that's
on.
where you can really flip that.
That's what we talk about when we do our
There you go.
rebuilds, is the best time to get those picks is when, they need an asset and they need to do something. John, I mean, is this I love the insulated trades, and usually my insulated trade is we've talked about some of these where I traded Davante Adams before this year to get maybe A.J. Brown in a first, and now all of a sudden that A.J. Brown's worth more than Davante Adams, and that first is worth more than Davante Adams. Now this is the ultimate time. If you can pull some of these moves, like I said, I think there's only 6 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 1 tight end that I don't feel comfortable just doing this. Like, even if it's I'm giving up J.K. Dobbins and I'm getting Gus Edwards and a first and maybe something on there. Some of these handcuffs where it's like, dude, that pick is going to be worth more. Those handcuffs could jump up. I mean, talk to me a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I felt better, because look, I'm hesitant too to move off a guy like Alvin Kamara, right? But you can get the next Alvin Kamara with the Jahmyr Gibbs. He actually reminds me of that, and he's going to be playing at Alabama. This guy has a chance to even sneak into the first round. Electric with the ball in his hands, catches the ball well, in crazy burst, long speed. He's got everything you want. But I'll put it this way: there's actually 4 running backs in this class that I would actually draft ahead of Kenny Walker easily. We already talked about Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, but there's 2 other guys, Zach Evans, who's going to be playing at Ole Miss, and Sean Tucker, who's going to be playing at Syracuse. These guys are absolutely going to be premier young running back assets. I think it's going to feel a little bit like that 2020 class that we were just talking about with all those running backs coming out. These guys all look legit. Like this kid Sean Tucker out of Syracuse, he's like a track athlete, and apparently he's been clocked at running like high 4.2s, low 4.3s, and he's 5'10", 209. I mean, he's basically Kenny Walker, a little bit bigger, but also just crazy faster. Like you just start looking at the athleticism and the measurables, and you start to geek out on this class. Zach Evans,
man, this is just, it gets me excited. And we're talking about getting the guys that we always come in and just hearing what Hicks and Waldman are going to say about these guys. Like, it's only going to build.
Yeah. Can't wait.
John and I get excited. I know Adam gets excited, and I myself, sometimes I'm like trying to find that new trend before it happens, or I'm trying to, push that new thing. You're always the voice of reason for me. So talk to me a little bit. I know you're a little bit, let's cash out on some of these 23 first. Talk to me a little bit about, what I was saying and some of the ideas that you're having right now.
Yeah, well, first, I think this is going to be another class, as it seems right now. It feels to me similar to 2020, where people were getting Jamar Chase and Najee Harris at the 1-4, 1-5, 1-6 because, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, these guys were commanding the early picks in Superflex leagues. And that could very well be something that we see again a year from now.
Yeah.
And then a guy that I would compare, not necessarily in play style, but in terms of valuation right now, is Butte, where he seems to be, in a separate tier behind Smith and Jigba for most. But we saw that Jalen Waddle really had a massive rookie year, even though Chase was the consensus number 1 wide receiver in that class. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of value, possibly even down to the 1-7, 1-8. Depending on how their seasons shake out. So, I mean, that's one thing where I wouldn't necessarily, scoff at a mid or late 2023 first. But at the same time, like I said before, I just did my very early top 200 redraft rankings. And that's why I've been starting to think, well, where is some value that could be had where people are so excited about the 2023 class that you might get very productive players with those mid or potentially late 2023 first. And I mentioned Pittman a little bit earlier. Another guy that I'm really high on is Courtland Sutton. Now that Russell Wilson is in Denver, I think he's being slept on a little bit, where you could probably get Sutton for a very late 2023 first. And you might even be able to get a second on top of Sutton, given how these 2023 firsts are being valued right now. So again, I've mentioned this on previous shows, but when you do have a savvy dynasty GM who might have already collected 6 or 7 2023 firsts, it's going to be really hard for you to rebuild in a year, maybe even 2. Great point. Why not try and go the other way? Grab some guys like an Allen Robinson, a James Conner, guys like these who are being sold, willy-nilly almost for 2023 seconds in some respects. And make a title run before that new dynasty GM with all these 2023 rookies is going to dominate for the foreseeable future.
That's a great point. We talk about those seconds are important, but I talked about it all the time. Josh Smith's a great guy. He's going to probably win Smash 3, and he's like, I'm reluctant to give you another one because I got to win it now, because if and when these guys hit, and then John in Smash 5. If you go on Dynasty Nerds projections, he has 4 of the top 5 picks. And I know that just gets him all giddy over there. But I mean, those are the kind of things where it's like, I've been in leagues with some real ballers, some guys in the analysts that in 2017, they ended up getting the whole class. And I've been in leagues where guys get the whole class of 2020. And guess what? They don't lose for a long time, So it's a great point to zig while other people are zagging, because if you got a shot this year, go do it. So I got a trade here, and I'm going to jump with you on this first, Adam. Kind of getting yourself jumping right in the Smash Accept, breaking things down here. The first trade we have sent in from Jesse Morgan. That's at the 3rd J Morg. Now he didn't go deep into this one, but he said it's Derrick Henry or Courtland Sutton, which I threw that in. John's favorite running back, Mung's favorite wide receiver to talk about, or James Cook, a 23 first, and Huntley in Superflex. Now let's just call that 23 first mid, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, so Mung nailed it, and that's kind of what I was thinking through with this trade is definitely trying to get the 23 first, but the Cook, this is definitely someone that loves Cook. I mean, it's obvious, right? Yeah. So, if personally, I think that's an overpay, and I'm going Henry and Sutton here because just the upside on both of those players, especially Henry, right? You're talking about the RB1. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 28 years old, but if you're talking about a mid now, that's where, back to your boy's point about the positioning and the projections, when I read that, I see saying late 23 first, but even if you go mid 23 first, I still like Sutton and Henry there.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing there is the time to sell Derrick Henry is not now. And I have so many people saying, yo, I got an offer of 110 for Derrick Henry. You're not selling Derrick Henry right now. Derrick Henry in 8 weeks put up with, he was still a top 10 running back for the entire year for what he did. So now's not the time to sell. The interesting point here is I think the Henry Sutton side won on Twitter. It's 56-44, but it's a lot closer than you would anticipate, thinking that difference in there. John, I mean, we talked about Cook last week on the podcast. This is an interesting situation where if I'm in a rebuild, I'm taking a shot at Cook in 23 first, but if I'm not, it's got to be Henry and Sutton. I mean, Henry and Sutton definitely have value in there, and I think you could probably do better off since Sutton could increase in value, should increase in value, will increase in value, is to get James Cook a 23 first for Henry in a second is how I would have broken this one down.
Right. Yeah, I think that's about right. This is actually a move that I probably would make as a contender to go get Derrick Henry, who could be the RB1 this season, especially in a points per carry season. He certainly was tracking that way. And people forget, he really hasn't been injured very much throughout his career. I get the foot injury, but he should be back fine. We already see this guy running like 50 miles per hour uphill. I mean, he's like a modern day gladiator, this guy. So I think that he'll be fine for a couple more seasons, play out the contract. So Henry Sutton in a contender move, I like it. But yeah, I mean, if you've shopped Derrick Henry in your league and you really feel like you need to move him now, you're worried about something. Okay, I think the advice is I'd wait till he starts blowing up again early in the season, to your point, Dad, then move him and get more than James Cook in a 23 first. That would be my move. But look, I get it. James Cook, if you believe in this guy,
I do,
and you think the 23 first, I mean, I'm not completely bought in, like we talked about. It seems like it's a random 23 first, maybe late. So
it's that crystal ball, John. You got to get it out. If that one looks like, how sometimes the guy thinks it's mid, but it could be 101. The other thing you got to look at, and I think I don't think enough people are paying attention to it. I made a deal in a league there where the guy the last 2 years has finished 6th in the league, but he's won the consolation bracket that's won the 101. So the worst team won't get the 101, which I hate that, but that's an area where I'm targeting a guy that might be in that 4 through 7 range because he's going to get me that 101. And I think that's a little bit outside thinking, but that. Interesting trade there. Mung, another one here, and we're going to go on your guy. This is C the man C, an early 23 first in Superflex, or your boy Jalen Waddle. Now, Jalen Waddle had a productive, fantastic rookie season. Where would be that line for you in that 23 class of where you'd make this move, and would you take this one? Twitter has this one 54-46, so pretty close.
Yeah, I was incredibly high on Jalen Waddle after that rookie season. In some respects, he performed very similarly to Jamar Chase, which a lot of people I don't think fully realized. But at the same time, unfortunately, I do think that Waddle's short-term upside over the next season or two is significantly capped with Tyreek Hill there now. Part of it was target volume that we projected for Waddle, even in an offense where maybe Tua wouldn't be the most efficient deep passer. But with Hill just hogging a lot of that target share at this point, I think I would lean the 2023 first, since it is projected to be early according to the poll.
Adam, John, anything to add to that one? I mean, where is the line? Because if you can tell me that I'm going to get Smith and Jigba instead of Jalen Waddle, given the Tyreek Hill's there and capping it off, I feel like if you say that's 4 and up, I'm smashing the pick. What about you, John?
I'm smashing it too. I mean, we just talk about stocks again, and AA can weigh in on this too, but I think that it's pretty clear to me that early first will continue to appreciate in value. No question about it. We all know that. The laws of dynasty fantasy football. But with Jalen Waddle, I think that there is a chance that he actually does struggle to live up to expectations in what could actually be a run-heavy team with Tua and the short intermediate. He's going to get his, and we know he's going to show out plenty of games. But with Tyreek Hill capping it with other playmakers in the offense now, the value sits on the early 23 first side here.
Adam, anything to add to those two? I mean, I totally agree with both of them. Anything you want to add?
No, I'm a huge Waddle fan, so I'm not necessarily a smash, but I'm definitely leaning on the first, especially if it's early. But I think I would just say the time to get Waddle is now, but just not with a early 23 first. I mean, that's what I would say. Go get him another means, hang on to that first. That too. Yeah, and then you're going to be able to get him probably cheaper in mid-season when Tyreek's playing well.
Great call. You know, and everyone acts like it has to be that 23 first for that pick. I mean, I have to trade this player. Get creative. Think about it a little bit. One sent in from Matt from our Patreon. Another new guy here. Fantastic. That's mcron91. Now, he's got a doozy here, all right? So you get your pen and paper out. So he has 5 23 firsts already. Okay? Side 1. Make sure you guys are ready for this one. I put it in the chat. It's Calvin Ridley, Pat Freiermuth, 105, 102, 110, and 223 first. This is the mother of big boy deals. I mean, that is like a team right there. On the other side, Deshaun Watson, Dalvin Cook, Terry McLaurin, Alexander Madison, Kyle Pitts, a 24 second and a 23 second. So, I mean, this is a lot to digest here. He did not say which side he's on. He crossed it all out on both sides. He wrote, would love you guys to discuss this one. He goes, I have 5 23 firsts already. He sent the pick side. So it's 0.5, and it's a 1 quarterback league. So make sure you assess that properly when we look at guys like Deshaun Watson. So he's ready to just push the chips in. What are we talking about here? Mung, I'm going to let you break it down because, you and I do it in mathematical type equations. We put Freiermuth plus this equals this, that equals this. Did you have time to break this one down? Because this is like the mother of trades. This is crazy.
Yeah, this one's definitely a handful. I have my Excel spreadsheet open in front of me as we speak.
I figured you did. I love it.
I mean, you almost have to, right, when you're kind of breaking these down, because if you're just looking at it at a glance, it's really hard to decide which side. And this one's really close because, like you said, 1 quarterback league. Obviously, love Deshaun Watson as a top 10, maybe even top 5 option if he doesn't get a suspension. But it's definitely devalued 1 quarterback. I look at it as if we're breaking down the 1-2, the 1-5, and the 1-10, more or less, I would say pretty equal to Cook, McLaurin, and Watson.
Agreed.
So those 6 pieces are sort of a wash for me. And then it really comes down to the 2 2023 firsts for Pitts and a 2023 second and a 24 second, right? That's kind of the meat of the deal remaining because to me, Madison and Freiermuth and Ridley, those guys kind of cancel out. Those are more ancillary pieces in a deal of this magnitude. So it's tough because a lot of it does come down to where you think those 2 2023 firsts are going to end up, right?
And he has 5 of them, so I'm thinking, he's a sharp guy. He's in one of our chats. These are probably more the projecting late ones, I would assume.
Right, and because of that, I mean, if we're going to make that assumption, I do think that Pitts and 2 second-round rookie picks are probably worth more than 2, let's call them mid or late 2023 firsts.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's a little bit different if you're expecting those firsts to be, 1-1 and 1-2. But as of now, given what we know based on that screenshot of the deal, I do lean the Pitts side.
So before I read Pitts, I was like, ooh, man, he's really just pushing the chips all in. Like, this is taking some serious capital of a dynasty team that could dominate for 6 years and then putting it into this situation. Adam, you and I talked about it in the group chat. There are, every year, we said, hey, Chase and Pitts might be worth 4 firsts last year. Okay, maybe in 2022, you were probably getting 3. Now people are like, oh, they might still be worth 3 or 4 firsts. Given what we know about the 2023 class, there are very few guys here that I would even consider outside of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes of talking about 3 23 firsts.
Yeah, like I said earlier, like that time was 6 months ago. Right now, it's going to be 2 firsts unless you have top 3, top 4 QBs, right? I mean, otherwise it's 2 firsts. Kind of like last episode, you guys were talking about 2 firsts can basically buy you, except for your top guys. You're going to get
right on.
So like I sold. I think I told Dad this. Sorry, hold your ears, Mung. But I sold Lance for 2 firsts, 223 firsts, and I felt that was about right.
Hey, by the way, Mung, I actually did instruct someone to trade for Trey Lance because it was a 23 first and a 24
there were
first.
Witnesses.
I did put that out there. So it wasn't 2 23 firsts. And he goes, I thought you didn't like Lance. And I'm like, how many times do I got to go over this? I never said I don't like Trey Lance. I'm just saying the price is there. So, Adam, I like that. Talk to me a little bit about this deal then, because we're talking about Pitts. Pitts is that one guy. Pitts, Chase, Jefferson are the only guys that I'm thinking in that area that are approaching 3 firsts. Talk to me here.
Yep. So for me, I mean, you got to think about, the only thing that I probably add to that, because Mung nailed it on the head, was just the pure value. But I also you have to look at what is this team, what are these picks, what is all this going to be worth in a year from now? Mm-hmm. And if you look at these pieces, Pitts, you can't get much higher than his position, right? I'm not saying he's going to go down, but from an upside perspective, I mean, you have to the 2 seconds could probably appreciate a little bit, but you're talking about, Ridley is a lottery pick, but you can't get much lower. I mean, so I'm looking at the actual, what's the upside in value generation? And if, of course, if you're going for it this year, I totally get the other side, but if you are middling or not, or you're punting, for me, it's the other side.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one. John, without breaking this one too deep, because we got a lot of trades to kind of go over. Are you going Pitt side or are you going pick side? Just to break the tie.
Just all this talk about all the picks. I almost want to
right?
take that punt side and, Calvin Ridley sitting out, and you lower your max points 4. You got Freiermuth. It's on the way. I almost want to do it, but I do actually agree that there's a slight value edge for the Pitt side. So it just it's close enough to where, pick the strategy you want to go with and make it work.
And Matt, that's a great trade. What I got to say is the differentiator to me is he is getting all of those players, and then he still has 323 firsts. So now he's got Watson, who's a QB1. He's got Dalvin, who's an RB1. He's got McLaurin, who's a wide receiver 2. He's got the tight end 1 with Kyle Pitts. And then you throw in, he's got 323 firsts, assuming, those are going to be some of the earlier ones. He could get some more running backs, and that was the saving grace for me, because I saw all those picks and I'm like, what's going to happen here? But Matt, overall, great trade. Another one sent in from Jake Bratton. That's at JBratto22. He said 10-team Superflex PPR contender. #smash accept. I love it. Brings a tear of joy to my eyes when I see that on there. He's given Breece Hall to receive Stephon Diggs and a late 23 first. Now, John, I held you out of the last one. I love Breece Hall. Breece Hall is the 101 of this class. Sorry, Monk. But no, even if we're in that spot, are you giving up Diggs and a 23 first to move up to 101? Where are we at here?
Yeah, this is pretty tight. I actually think that the value may be on the Breece Hall side here, given that we think that this is a late 23 first. Mm-hmm. It is. Look, I got to say, it is pretty close. I'm kind of sizing it up here as we speak. And
okay, well, let's hold on. Playing devil's advocate here real quick. Yeah. Because Adam and I have been talking about this and Mung, and that 23 first, you just flip it real quick for Leonard Fournette. Stephon Diggs and Leonard Fournette or Breece Hall. It's about what you can do with a cascade trade, because I love Breece Hall, but if you give me Diggs and Fournette on a contender, that's a tough thing to pass up.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, there really is just straight up more value on the pick Diggs side. I think you could plug that into any calculator to convince yourself. Breece Hall is super appealing. These young running backs, he was like the clear tier break for this class. But you're right. I think that as a contender, you would rather flip that 23 first, even maybe consider what you could get for Diggs as well, and you're going to end up with more value out of it. So yeah, I feel that. That's an very interesting trade, actually, if you break it down.
Yeah, and Mung, I saw your rankings and I saw your article. I mean, I was talking about Leonard Fournette here a little bit, and I know I talk about him every episode, but I mean, that feels like the perfect cascaded trade there. And I know you and I both love Diggs, but Diggs in that 23 first or Breece Hall, what are you taking, Mung?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of voiced my hesitations on Hall. While I do have him in the top tier of this rookie class, I don't think he's the 101, and I'm not convinced that he's going to be a top 12 running back at least this year. I think I have him RB 21, 22 in that range in my redraft ranking, something like that. So while I do think he's going to be the lead back for the Jets, I'm not quite sure that he's going to see more than 60, 65% of the workload. And even then, we've yet to see, how efficient they're going to be with touchdowns, with adding, Wilson to more and with Zach Wilson's development. So to me, I would still want the top 10 wide receiver, in redraft. I know that Diggs is probably, I think he's almost 29 years old at this point, but, tied to Josh Allen in a very efficient offense, He's still going to have value for at least a couple seasons, I think. And then again, that 2023 first might be projected late, but you never know with that one either. So I am not going to make this move for Hall. And as you said, with that trade, you also have the option to move that 2023 first in season for a guy like Fournette, or even better, depending on the hype of the 2023 class at that point.
I have made one pick I have one more draft left. In 14 of my drafts, I have made one first-round selection. It has been Breece Hall. I traded the 110, and this is a 10-team league, because you want them studs. I gave up the 110, my 23 first, which is probably going to be 110 because I've won 4 years in a row, and Dalton Schultz. So two firsts and a second. And what kind of value is this enough for you for Breece Hall? I love Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall, he's my RB6 in Dynasty, but is this enough to give him up for you, Adam?
Absolutely. So here's my reasoning, gents, is looking at where does Breece Hall go in 2023 draft? He goes 6, 7, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And you're going, even worst case scenario, it's the 12th pick. You're going down 6, 5, let's just say 4 to 7 picks, and you're getting Stephon Diggs on a contender. Smash for me.
I'm not arguing it too much. I love Hall.
That's the way I would have looked at it too.
It's just a difficult. I love hearing different mentalities of how we break this down. Another guy from the Patreon, Brian Russell at BRSF49ers, circling back, and we worked through this one, and this has got a plug to the Patreon. Is like, dude, we break down trades as a group, and we talk about them like big time. He pitched this one out there multiple times, but he said 12 team Superflex. The 205 pick is on the clock now. Okay, he was like, do I take Dotson, Willis? Do I take Matt Corral? Do I take Mechie, Bell? I'll probably stick to what's on the board. But at the time, he ended up getting a 23 first, the 205, the 24 second, or Trevor Lawrence. So this is 12-team Superflex. Trevor Lawrence has fallen out of grace with many people. Adam, talk to me about this trade a little bit, because Trevor Lawrence was the second coming, generational talent. I saw a poll out there. So a lot of people don't even believe he's, an above average starter in this league. I still think he's a superstar and a guy that I like to build around. I know on this particular trade, I was advocating try to move Tua, because that was his other quarterback. I was like, he has Tua, Lance, and Daniel Jones. I'm like, move Tua for that 23 first if you're going in that area. But talk to me.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I had, just because of his cost last draft, I had 0 shares. I loved him, obviously, but just the cost.
He's going 106 startup.
I mean, it was just,
wild.
I just couldn't pay that price no matter how much I loved him, which I still do. But right now is the perfect time to buy him. And I think even though that's a pretty good haul for him, I think that, I think it's not a smash, but I certainly like the T-Law side, because you certainly have enough insulation, not only with his age, his, being the 101, and on both the real NFL and the fantasy draft, and plenty of upside. All they have to do is to be a average NFL team offense, and his value is going to shoot up the boards. So I'm T-Law there.
John, what about you? I mean, I know we were both really high on them, and he doesn't say the actual location of where that 23 first is. Let's call it 107, right outside that group of like where you are saying we have absolute studs. So let's call it 107. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually think that T-Law is a good buy low right now, and I still believe in him. I think we have to. I mean, there's so much that says that he should still succeed. The Urban Meyer experiment's finally over. I think they really want to help this kid succeed. So I would lean that way, especially, the mid 23 first could be special, but like we talked about earlier, you're not going to get one of those QBs. So, you're getting a stud running back wide receiver there. Okay. But it's very difficult to replace a young Trevor Lawrence like player. So I do agree that's where the value is on this one for me, but it's pretty close. And the other thing I'll say is, if you're selling Lawrence, now's not the time. Let this kid, give him some time. His value should kind of come back, maybe not to where it was there coming out of the draft originally, but I think he will gain value.
Mung, I want to get your opinion here, because your 112 is still on the board at 205. That's Malik Willis. So let's say, you're valuing Malik Willis as a late first. We're getting Malik Willis, who, in all likelihood, could be the starter in Tennessee. I know we've been high on him. Next year, he's the starter in 2023. You get that 2023 107, and you get one of these running backs. Is this enough for you to move Trevor Lawrence? And I know, from talking things, you're a little bit lower on Lawrence than John and I are. Is this a move that you would make?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still fairly high on Lawrence in my Superflex Dynasty rankings. I do think he's worth acquiring for this package. But that said, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit here because a lot of times when we're doing redraft drafts or best ball drafts, we look at which guys could start the season hot, right? Who are going to increase in that redraft trade value potentially after the first few weeks. And when you look at the Jaguars' schedule, I pulled this up earlier today. They have a very winnable game against the Commanders in week 1. But then they've got the Colts, the Chargers, and the Eagles, all three of which have pretty solid defenses the next 3 games. So there's a chance that Trevor Lawrence's value could dip a little bit more, even than where it is now after the early portion of this season. Even if he does well this season, depending on what your expectations for Lawrence are, I'm not sure I see him cracking, the top 10, top 12 fantasy quarterbacks in terms of a season-long finish this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's a chance that with the hype on Young and Stroud, depending on where this pick ends up, that first alone might be worth more than Trevor Lawrence a year from now, or a few months from now, I should say. So while I do still think the talent is there for Lawrence, I'm a little nervous about if you expect his value to rise to, like you guys said, where it was in startups a year from now, right after the 2021 draft. So I do think Lawrence is worth this package, but the smart play might be to keep those picks, and you might be able to get Lawrence for just that first in a few months, or even, after week 4.
I don't think he drops under 1 first. I feel like he's going to be, because of where he was drafted and how high it was, he went from 106 and he had a horrible rookie season, and now he's going 205. So I don't think he moves too much back, but I love that analysis to the early part of the season there. And I'm a buyer of Trevor Lawrence, and I know, I feel like we're not just, if you took him 101, you're just losing value to do that. One of the trades here sent in from another guy from the Patreon at Fantasy Nerd Boy. Awesome guys, super aggressive in there. And this is exactly what I was saying to do in my insulated trades. He gives up David Montgomery and KJ Hamler for Jahan Dotson in a 23 first. This is an absolute smash for me because this is the kind of move where, you got a rookie wide receiver who's a first round draft capital. You get that 23 first. That 23 first in season, if you are contending, will buy you a running back equal to or better than David Montgomery, in my opinion, John. Am I crazy?
Oh, no, you're not. No, I'm completely with you on this. I really like this move. Oh,
you
yeah,
got a
give me that cowbell. Let me hear it.
I need a better soundboard, but I have a real cowbell. You know what I mean? So
only prescription, more 23 firsts.
Let's do it. Adam, what do you think here? I mean, is there any reason to take the Montgomery and Hamler side?
No, I mean, I read that and I said auto smash.
There you go.
Because
I wish I had that button. Like it was just a analysis program that just knows.
Might be onto something here.
Yeah.
If it's if you said early first, that's what's just kind of like you have to take that, because you're not getting that upside with Montgomery and it's just a smash. I can't really say much more.
Another guy I absolutely love in the community, Dynasty Island. If you don't follow him, do it. This was from his Patreon, and we were talking about this. Mark Andrews or Mike Gesicki, Rondale Moore in a 23 first. Now, this is almost the exact same scenario that I've been talking about trying to move down. I love Mark Andrews. I'm going to go to Mung because I know, Mung, you're not quite as high on Mark Andrews, but 23 first and Gesicki, who, we've talked about, it's just on the verge of breaking out. It just hasn't happened. It seems a little bit less likely, but what are we taking here? I mean, his calculator has it almost dead even, but that 23 first could change in value quite a bit, Mung.
Yeah, so it's just a straight up Gesicki and a 2023 first, no other.
And Rondale Moore, but I'm always trying to move Rondale Moore.
I think this one's really team dependent, and where you think that 2023 first is going to end up. I know we keep saying that, but every situation really is kind of different and comes down to how well you can evaluate the rosters in your league and where you think those picks are going to end up. I mean, I think it's a fine deal for Andrews if you're contending. At the same time, if that pick ends up, top 3, top 4, then I do think those guys are going to be worth more than Andrews. I'm not projecting the kind of target volume that we saw for Andrews towards the end of last year in 2022. So that's part of my hesitation. So this one's tough. Really comes down to roster need.
I like it. We got the doozy here sent in from Tony Langer. He says, all right, you ready for this bad boy? And Adam, you're the new guy on the block, so I'm going to hit you with this one because this one is not easy. 10-team Superflex. Tight end premium, 0.5 PPR, and contending versus rebuilding. So the one side receives Elijah Moore, Treylon Burks, 2 23 firsts, a 23 second, a 24 first, and a 24 second. And these are the ones that give people headaches if you don't write this stuff down. The other side, it's Brady, Evans, McCaffrey, Dalvin, Kittle, and Madison. I love these 2 trades that are sent in. It's like, here's an entire rebuild. Here's an entire new starting roster. What do you want?
My team for yours. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And these are the guys that are in the Patreon. These are the sharp guys that you can, if you guys join. Again, we're just doing it $1 a month. It's like money back guaranteed, $1 a month to be part of this group and have access to all this awesome stuff. All right, Adam, break it down for me because this one's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And you know how much I love 23 first, with our 8, right? But I mean, I'm just breaking this down, especially in one QB, right? I mean, it's for me, I really like the player side because if you're looking at McCaffrey and Cook, you're talking about 2, high top half RB1s. You're talking about Brady. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of value, but certainly from a contending team, still an QB1. And then you have the stack with Evans. And then Kittle, and then Madison's just good insurance to Cook, not worth with value. But you're talking about locking up that backfield for 3 to 4 years. I mean, for me, it's I think it's pretty much a smash on the player side personally.
It's a tough one. I mean, it really is on my end. John, I mean, I know you really have pick envy because Adam and I both have 8. And I know that you're going to want to talk about the 23 first side, but what side do you like here?
No,
I know you like to win. All you do is win. And this is so hard for you.
Are play to win.
Yeah.
And you just got dealt here like a whole slew of competing players that are going to drop points every week for you. That's my lean. And if I start breaking this thing down, you can pretty quickly justify that there's more value with those vet players and have fun. I mean, go get yourself that title. It cost you a number of picks, but that's what you do when you're pushing it all in, play to win. So that'd be my move on this one.
So I think the interesting thing there is when I have studs, okay, I don't like to package them. I would like to trade Christian McCaffrey for 2 23 firsts.
Break it up.
I would like to trade Dalvin Cook for a 23 first plus. I would like to trade Tom Brady for a 24 first. Like try to extrapolate that out because here it's just like, this is what I have in youth. Give me all your veterans, and that's kind of how I look at it. Mung, that's got some of your favorite guys with Brady and Evans on there. Are you taking the picks or are you taking the vets?
Yeah, you actually kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I think we were thinking the same way where I would rather wait and sell Cook and McCaffrey because these guys' values are down in the dumps right now. Everybody hates McCaffrey after he's been hurt for a couple years. Not anything recurring, just kind of freak injuries. And as soon as he has like 2 back-to-back 25-point games, you're going to be able to get 2 23 firsts for just McCaffrey, right? As soon as Dalvin Cook puts up a couple of 20-point games back-to-back, he's going to be worth a couple firsts, whereas you can probably only get 1 first for him right now.
Correct.
So now is not the time to sell these veterans. And like you said, if I were to sell them, I would look to make individual deals and almost kind of create a bidding war among the contenders in your league, right? As soon as you move McCaffrey to one team, the other contenders are going to be like, well, now I need to get Cook before, you sell him Cook also, right? You're creating a little bit more leverage where you're like, hey, I mean, if you want to win the league and beat this guy, then I've got the goods and you got to pay up.
I like it. 2 more quick ones. Both of them weren't in the script, so be ready. No, Thomas O'Brien sends in, what would you rather have in a 12-team PPR Superflex? This is a 23 first late, and projections key. And this is where it gets interesting because neither of these guys ultimately they're both kind of worth in that range of a late first to an early second. But Darnell Mooney and Dalton Schultz. John, I mean, are you taking that 23 first, or are you going with Mooney is going to get peppered this year? Dalton Schultz is a guy that I think is ascending there. But ultimately, I don't think either of them become worth a 23 first individually. Is this worth it?
Yeah, it is very close. I looked at this one myself. And like we just keep repeating over and over again, the key will be where that 23 first lands. I typically like to have the shot at the elite player that is really going to help you win leagues, win a lot of weeks. Mooney and Schultz are kind of those tweener guys. You love having them in your lineup. If you have depth, like major depth issues, I could see doing it. You might even see in some calculators that Schultz, especially in a premium league, but I'm not sure that it is, and Mooney might be worth a little bit more.
It is.
Yeah. And so
because Mooney's about he's like the 201 area. He's almost where the first. Schultz is like mid-second. So when you put them together, it kind of it gets in that interesting situation.
Would you rather have 2 seconds or would you rather have that first? I mean, my tendency is to lean towards the premium player and shore up your depth elsewhere. And so I'd prefer to get the pick and gain some value.
And the other one, Adam, I'm going to put you on the spot because we talked about this one, but in Smash 2, I gave my 23 first on what is the most stacked roster I've ever had for Freiermuth and Dawson Knox in a 1.75 tight end premium, just for some depth. And I know we discussed that one a little bit, so why don't you break that one down a little bit?
Yeah, so, excuse me, so, with just your team, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, I totally get the other side, right? But I mean, I think with Muth, like just both of these guys are going to be able to, especially in Smash, right? You have the tight end premium, right? And with, being able to get basically with what you already have. I mean, me, I love 23 first, but I think, I think the Muth and Knox side, because just, again, you're talking about positional scarcity, and if you be able to take that away from your opponents and on top of that get the points, it's a double
Thank you.
win.
That was the key there because you and I talked about it, and I was like, hey, you know what? I could give away that 23 first and maybe get a running back right there, right? But I mean, I have Jonathan Taylor, James Conner, Leonard Fournette, I have like 7 RB1s. So in that situation, then I looked at the guy who won the championship last year, and I said, shout out to Rob Ross. And I looked at it, he does not have a tight end on his roster, period. And the guy that's shopping him had a surplus of tight ends, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know what? This is 2 folds, and sometimes you play a little bit deeper. I'm going to take these guys away because this is what's getting shopped there. So, guys, this was a fun episode. This was awesome. We went longer than we ever do because we wanted to talk about these 23 first. Adam, it was a blast having you on here. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you on Twitter and, you just maybe a parting thought here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all you gents and the Patreon group, the whole Smash, community. You find me on Twitter and @R_Adam Armour. That's ARMOUR. And just appreciate being on the pod and being able to shoot the what on the pod, and also just be part of the Patreon. And if you haven't been on, make sure it's on. It's definitely worth being on. Just be able to not only talk trades, but just be in a great community and be able to talk shop anytime you want.
And that's what we want, like a Smash family. The last guy that just joined, I said to him, I said, hey man, trust me, like this is worth, and that's Jesse Quaranta, I hope I pronounced that right. I said, dude, it is worth $12 a year to not nag your girlfriend, nag your wife, nag your coworkers where you're like, yo, dude, I got this trade done. I got another 23 first. And my girlfriend's like, yeah, what is that? I don't even know. So we're in this group. You get to talk about it. You get to, have 50 guys in there now that really just bounce stuff off. John, again, someday you might get up to 8 23 firsts. Until that day, you got to be happy with 6. So hit us up where they can find you and how you're going to get some more firsts.
Yeah, this was so much fun. Really loved this pod, and I know we're going to keep talking about this, but you can find me on Twitter @dynasty_trades, and go check out my most recent post where I did drop my way too early 2023 rookie rankings for the first round. I'm actually already starting to look at round 2 as well. I can help you size up at where we are right now, what the value of these are. I'm doing tier breaks, and I'm also kind of sliding in what I think the value is of the current 22 rookies. Like I said, I might take 3 wide receivers in this next class before I take Drake London and 4 running backs before I take Kenneth Walker. So reach out to me, DM me, and we'll talk it through. You know, we're going to be talking shop in the Patreon. Can't wait to do some of that, but really looking forward to continuing on this class. It's going to be fun.
You know, I say we're about to wrap things up, and then you say there's 3 guys better than Drake London before I switch things over to Mung. Like, that just wasn't right.
Yeah.
Mung, what's going on with you? You know, where can people find you, and what are you working on?
Yeah, it's great talking with Adam and you guys about the trades. This is the kind of content that we love to deliver. And, you know, as we kind of discussed during the trade talk, it is tough sometimes because sometimes we need more details about the league, your roster, scoring settings, whatever it might be. And that's why we ask that you guys tag us on Twitter. You can find me at FFA_Mung. That's MENG. And you can find all my articles over at fantraxhq.com. Dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, redraft rankings. I have a wide receiver article coming out, so whatever you guys want, it's all on there.
Man is busy. Thanks again for tuning in, and enjoy the process.